You're listening to the Cinemental Podcast.
Shall we begin?
Welcome back to the Cinemental Podcast, where we discuss mental health in cinema, television, and popular culture and how it is portrayed. What do they get right? What do they get wrong? And what should you know about mental health? I'm Jeffrey Jones, and I'm a screenwriter as well as a professor of screenwriting. And I'm joined, as always, by my brother, America's psychiatrist, Dr. Joshua Jones, who, as well as being, I did not write something for this time, so I'm just going to call you a great guy.
Aw, Jeff.
Yeah, is a general and forensic psychiatrist.
Well, Jeff, hey, thanks. I'm so excited about this topic. We're going to talk about all things AI today, and it's incredible that we're here in 2025 and we're actually talking about this.
Yeah. This is our continuing coverage of the Terminator. We talked last week a lot about delusion. We talked about the children of delusion. And today we saved talking about AI for today. And there is a lot of mental health stuff to tackle when it comes to AI, its effect on humans. So we're going to talk a lot about that today. We don't need to dive into what Terminator 2 was about. If you want to know more about that, watch Monday's episode or listen to Monday's episode.
I think it's fair to give people a good recap, Jeff, that Terminator 2 is about the T-800 saving John Connor and his mother from the T-1000.
That's only a joke you're going to understand if you watch Monday's episode, but honestly, it's
folks,
go back
and watch Monday's episode.
Yeah, go back and watch where Jeff was dumb. All right, so Josh, let's talk a little bit about not just AI, but artificial intelligence. One of the questions I think is the most interesting and that we've been tackling forever is how do you make a sentient robot? Not just something that can outthink us, something that can feel, something that's aware of itself. And self-awareness is sort of it's the Turing test. It's the final piece where, we create something that can be self-aware. And I think that self-awareness is really interesting. Josh, start us off by talking about where we are in the AI journey.
Jeff, that's an excellent question. And
I thought you might appreciate that.
We are not at the point where these artificial intelligence models are sentient or self-aware. Nobody thinks we've gotten there yet.
Right.
But what we have gotten to is we've gotten to a point where they can appear really close to human intelligence. What we're mostly playing with now, your Chat GPTs, your Geminis, your things like that, are things called large language models. And so they are being fed basically as much data as their programmers can get their hands on through written word, video, anything that's available on the internet. And they are extrapolating from all this data how to respond to human queries. Mm-hmm. So it's getting really close. It's much more complex, obviously, than you say A, I respond with B. They're able to create some, and it is changing all the time. Remember, ChatGPT just came out a couple years ago,
right?
And it is advancing constantly. So we're at the point where they can respond in ways that seem pretty human, but you have to check for errors or what I think is a euphemism for lie, hallucinations.
Yeah, it is a lie.
In the AI speak.
Yeah. This is a whole topic in itself, but there's a lot of talk about like what's the responsibility of the people who own the AI for its accuracy. There was a really interesting case where AI responded to a customer complaint and basically invented a new policy that was not an existing policy.
Sure.
And then the person called them on that policy and they're like, well, we're not responsible for the hallucination of our AI. Nope. If you employ a person and that person, says a policy, you're on the line for that. And I don't know how that case ended up, but like the fact that businesses are even trying that nonsense of like, oh, it's not actually us. No, we've got to step in and make sure that stuff like that does not happen. You are responsible for the AI that you are using or employing.
You bring up a great point that is a problem with all emerging technologies, is that our legal codes and especially case law on which much of our legal system is built hasn't caught up with and can't anticipate what's going to happen with these two new technologies. Right. So
we could actually ask AI what to anticipate, and I bet they'd nail it. I bet they would nail it.
They've got.
If I was trying to stop you, AI machine, how would I do it?
Oh, and it would reply, oh, don't try to stop me. I'm your friend.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Something you said, Josh, that was interesting is we're getting close with the model. I don't know that we're getting any closer to sentience. I think we're getting close to not being able to tell that it's a robot. And there's a massive difference there.
There's a massive difference, yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for that sort of history of large language models is what it's called, right?
Yeah. And look, I'm by no means an expert in artificial intelligence. I do happen to have, through one of my other jobs, a keen interest in how do we use artificial intelligence to help us provide medicine better. And one of the company that I work for partners with a company that's a huge investor and an inventor of parts of AI. And so we're getting briefings on this stuff all the time and trying to figure out how to use AI in new and more helpful ways.
And look, as a filmmaker, there are times where I use AI. There's some amazing technologies where, like, if I want to touch up an image, I could just kind of drag over something that I want to remove, and it guesses at what I am trying to remove. That's artificial intelligence. And I don't know that that I have any issue with that. So there are some uses for AI that are okay and make our lives in general better. I want to talk about sentience.
My wife, who is an enormous Tom Brady fan, made AI make for her last night a really charming cartoon of Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski riding on a moped through Italy together.
I have so many questions there, but I'm going to push forward. Why a moped? Why Italy? It's so many questions. Let's talk about sentience for a second, because I think it's interesting. It's a really interesting conversation to just talk about what sentience is. We give ourselves a massive pat on the back for being sentient. I'm sure that there's aliens out there who are like, you guys are dumb. You guys are really dumb. But we like to think we're the smartest in the universe. But I think we can all agree that there is a lack of sentience with AI. And I've given this a lot of thought as a writer. And tell me what you think of this. We're trying to make these robots like us. And we think that that's what's going to make them sentient. We're trying to program them to be human. And I don't think that's what sentience is. I think that sentience is just the sole desire to stay alive. And I think that if we programmed AI or a robot to figure out what its off switch is and do everything to protect itself from getting turned off, we would see sentient robots very, very quickly. And I think that there's just something to that fairly primitive evolutionary state of not wanting to die that is going to lead to sentience.
I think it suggests an awareness of your being.
Exactly. But I think that we could code something now. I think if you asked, ChatGPT, like, hey, make this your primary function to make sure you never get turned off, I think that it would start trying to figure out ways of manipulating you into not turning it off, because that's what we're telling it to do. I think that is where you get sentience. And I think that all beings that have sentience are driven by that primal desire to stay alive.
Well, I'm sure that experiment's been done with these large language models. I don't know what the outcomes are, but I'm sure someone has tried to do that. The thing I think you're missing there, though, is the avoidance of wanting to be dead, or the desire to want to stay alive. I don't think we would say that animals other than us are sentient. Maybe that's a bad definition for us. Maybe that speaks to the human arrogance.
You don't think animals are self-aware?
No, that's what I'm saying. I think animals are self-aware. So you're saying you think animals are sentient? Do you think that dogs are sentient?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You don't think dogs are sentient beings?
I don't.
Really?
Yeah.
How do you define sentience then?
Capacity to experience feeling, sensation, and awareness of yourself, awareness of yourself being.
You've never seen a dog display emotions and be aware of itself?
I
think that dogs absolutely are aware of themselves.
All right. Well, you were more sentient than I, Jeff.
That's so interesting. Yeah. What do you think then is genuinely, what do you think is the difference? Give it some thought. I'm happy to just take a little bit of time.
That's a good question, but I think once you start to, it's a great question. I guess I experience only humans as the only sentient beings that we know of.
I hear you, but what separates us then?
We can pay for therapy and animals can't. Honestly, Jeff,
I'm not going to let you get away with it.
You caught me here. I guess I have not given this as much thought as I should have. I think I have just always assumed humans are the only sentient creatures that we know of.
I kind of get what you're saying, where animals are basically instinctual, and whether or not
we are
dog, 100%. There are animals who use language. I think that's 100% a sign of sentience, to be able to communicate and to have the desire to communicate, with interspecies. I think that shows an awareness that like it can communicate, so whether or not a dog looks in a mirror and sees itself, dolphins communicate, whales communicate. I think anything that can communicate is a sign of sentience. That being said, I don't think robots can communicate. And we've shown this already with these large language models. They're still mimicking communication. And when two AI systems talk to each other, it very quickly breaks down into nonsense. Like they're not actually able to have a meaningful conversation, driven by its own desires. But animals can have conversations that are driven by their own desires. And I think that is another argument for sentience.
All right. I will cede the point to you.
I think you're going to give it more thought. I don't think you're going to actually agree with me in this case. I think you'll probably think about it more.
I'm going to agree with you. I am surprising myself. I think I have had a very 1980s view of sentience, and I'm learning a little bit about myself. And as I've always said on the podcast, you need to have humility when you approach these topics. I have to have humility too as I approach these topics. And I'm like, holy shit, how have I always been so arrogant about this? So
anytime there's the discovery of like, why did I always believe this? I want to tell this story, Josh, just because I think it's so fucking funny. You tell it. I know you know the story that I'm going to tell.
Just go ahead. Go for it.
So when Josh was a kid, our dad was just lazy one day, and he was getting him a hot dog at Costco. My dad put relish and ketchup on Josh's hot dog, and he came back and Josh said, "Oh, I want mustard." And my dad, being too lazy to go back and get a mustard, said, "Oh, there's mustard in relish." Josh is a kid at this point, so he believes him, because why wouldn't you believe your father? And what age were you where like finally someone debunked that for you?
I was married. It was my wife. When I came back at Costco with the hot dog that she wanted fully dressed with relish and ketchup on it, and she said, "Where's the mustard?" And I just said, "Oh, there's mustard and relish." And she goes, "No, there's not."
And she actually had to show you a can of relish to prove it to you. And it just, that's one of those things of like, these deep-seated beliefs.
Doctor. I was a doctor.
These deep-seated beliefs that we hold from those are the ones that are the really tricky ones. And I'm not poking fun at you here. I used to wonder what kosh was and why we threw it into the wind.
Throw it into the wind.
Why we throw it into the wind. Mm-hmm. So I want to talk to you a little bit about like AI in the industry, Josh.
Yeah.
This is a real tough one. The fact that there's all these companies who want us to try their AI and we can do it for free. Just a reminder, people, if something is free, then we're the product. We learned that with Facebook. For some reason, we didn't learn our lesson, and there's all these companies, "Oh, AI, it's good for you. It's good for you." I don't think so. We all need to be very cautious of AI and not give away our brains for free. There's a lot of fear in the entertainment industry specifically about AI and about AI, being really good at like writing scripts, et cetera, et cetera. In the video game industry, you can do a body scan, and then now they basically just own, your body, and they can make it do whatever they want using AI. We as agents have started protecting our people to say like, we are not giving you a buyout where you can, record our talent's voice and be able to use that however you want in the future. And we're getting a lot of like, "Oh, come on, their life will be so easy. They don't even need to do anything anymore. We'll just cut them one check and then that's it. They'll just, they won't even have to come into the studio." People like going to the studio, and they like getting paid more than that one buyout. And here's the issue. Automation has always won. When it comes to humans and automation has always won. Here's why I'm hoping this one can be different. You can't own a piece of a person. That is something that I think we've all agreed with. When you're scanning someone's body, you can then make that person do something that they don't want to do. And I don't think that that's a right that we should ever give up. Your voice is part of your person, and we shouldn't even be allowed to give that away. And there's precedence for this. If you're a kid, if you're a child, and you want to work, and you sign something away that says like, "I'm willing to work, I'm willing to like disobey the child labor laws," the government steps in and says, "No, you can't do that." Mm-hmm. You're breaking the law. You can't sign your rights away. And so even people who have said like, oh, you can have my voice, I think that the government needs to step in and say, no, that's something that you're actually not allowed to give away because nobody can own a part of another person. And I think that that's where hopefully, in my mind, AI can be a little bit combated in terms of its automation and the use of humans to generate whatever the hell AI wants it to. Because it's scary. Some of these models we're seeing, there was something that came out with Trump the other day that was AI generated, where he wanted to rename the District of Columbia, and people hopped all over it because they believed it was real, and it was AI generated. It's very scary what AI can make people do. And I'm hoping that we protect people, in the same way that we protect people against themselves when it comes to AI. That's my hope. I don't know. I don't know that we're going to do that, but I think that that is the precedent for us actually beating automation in this case.
Yeah, I don't know, Jeff. I think the case law takes a long time to catch up to this stuff. I think it's moving so fast. I hope those protections get in place. We have seen with deepfakes, AI deepfakes of people being declothed by AI and have those images spread around. I think it's very, very tough, and I don't quite know how it's going to go. I hope you're right, especially for your industry. My industry is also being changed rapidly by AI. Our teaser headline for this episode is, "Are you ready for your therapist to be a Terminator?" That's a little tongue-in-cheek, but there are therapy models being tested through these large language models on people. I myself have tested it. I have gone to ChatGPT and worked around some of its disclaimers and said, oh, this is for research purposes only. Let's do a therapy session. Let's have you try to be a CBT therapist. I'm going to be honest. They were very good. It was very, very helpful. If you think of therapy as kind of a call and response method of tweaking your thinking about different situations that you're in and different emotions that you have, I think there is a place, and I think there's going to be more of a place going forward for AI help. We're going to have to put guardrails on it. We're going to have to decide where the legal liability lies if someone uses a AI for therapy and ends up hurting themselves, ends up hurting others. Where does that liability lay? Again, all those things are huge questions for us to answer going forward. But I can see AI-generated therapy as being a real tool to help in some circumstances for people who are struggling with mental health conditions. I am okay with it because there's not enough of us to go around. We can't train mental health professionals fast enough to get out there to help people. So it would be very guild-like of me to say, no, it can only be humans who provide therapy. If we can get help out to people, actual honest-to-God help, I can't stand in the way of that. And I won't stand in the way of that. There's always going to be a place for real human therapists and psychiatrists, etc. I want AI tools to help me cull through the massive amounts of data that our change from paper charts to electronic health records has generated to allow me to help you faster. Currently, my process when I'm presented with a new patient is to go through their available electronic health record, put my eyes on as much information as I can, use the search features that are available in non-AI and a dumb search menu to get as much information about them as I can in 30 minutes. If I could have AI do that for me, and then I could go into the patient appointment with a well-curated synopsis of their history, I could help many more people in a day.
Okay, but those are two different applications of AI.
They are different. They are different applications of AI.
And I think that the second one is more along the lines of where I land with it. Where it's sort of helping you do part of your job better. It's the replacement that I have an issue with. You can make an argument that this is automation versus. What about teachers? If you put everything a teacher has ever said into an AI model, I think that they've probably heard or could facsimilate, I don't know if that's the right word, a response to anything any student has ever said and keep kids, sort of in line. So are we just going to have robot teachers in the future?
I think within 10 years, we're going to have an AI curated and generated free university degree available somewhere.
Man, just get me off this rock. I am not here for any of this. I think that this is such it's not even that I want that I have an issue being replaced. It's just like it's just another way that we're just losing our humanity. And all of this stuff is going to end up in the pockets of billionaires. I don't want my kid raised by a robot. I don't want my kid to go to school with a robot. I don't want to talk to a robot doctor, and maybe I'm one of those like,
man, what an anti-robot robot bigot you are. Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh.
I don't even like Waymo. Like a friend of mine.
I don't even know what Waymo is.
I don't even know if they have it anywhere else but LA. Probably do. But it's a series of Jaguar taxis that are self-driving. And like a buddy of mine took it to home the other day. We were out at a restaurant. He took a Waymo home and he like got in, and it was his first time ever taking it, but it was an Uber that was self-driving. I've seen some of these Waymos around, and it's very funny because sometimes they'll get stuck in a loop. And so they'll like be trying to like park, and they're just going back and forth for like 30 minutes. And that's the part that's scary to me is like, if they get in a situation where they don't understand, then they can't get out of it. And sure, then we just need to program it better. But it's like people are going to get hurt in the meantime. I have an issue with another human being driving my car. I like to always be in control of my car or at whatever vehicle that I'm in. Man, I'm not going to give that up to my robot overlord. Even if I could sit in the back of a car and get 30 minutes more of work done because I'm not driving.
I had a friend of mine buy a Tesla the other day in Portland, Oregon, half price because it was a fire sale.
Sure.
Literally. He programmed it to drive to Denver or the Denver area where we're at.
No. And it drove itself?
By itself.
No.
All the way.
How did it get charged?
Oh, he had to stop and charge it.
Oh, he was in the car.
He was in the car. Yeah. Oh, yeah. No. Yeah.
I legitimately believe that the car drove itself.
He was in the car, but he said it and he didn't do anything.
But it's not far from believing that car actually could have just transported itself. I'm not an idiot, right, Josh?
It was a Tesla Model 1000, Jeff, not the Tesla, the T800.
Why T800? That's such a weird initial name. I actually thought it was the T100 at first, but
it was one version better than the T799.
Okay.
I think another thing that we do need to talk about as we're talking about AI, and you made a very good point that if the product is free, then the product is us. We're testing out all this Chat GPT and Gemini things, and some of us are using it for
letters of recommendation for students.
For productivity. Some of us are just playing around with it. This comes at a real cost. The average Chat GPT query costs just under 3 watt-hours. That is the equivalent of running your 60-watt bulb in your house for 3 minutes. Times the now billions of people using these things, and these things are energy hogs. As we ramp up on this, we have to understand that there is a very real energy cost in this energy-starved world that we are adding onto our plates. Do we need to do it? We obviously think we do. Right now, the product is us, is our information, is our queries, is our thought patterns. I think that's very scary.
Yeah, there was a guy that like placed in a film festival, and he just put a prompt in and then filmed what the thing came up with as a script. And it was just nonsense. It was kind of funny, but I was like, guys, we're literally watching a robot take our jobs here. Like,
yeah, we're literally watching it. Yeah.
What are we thinking?
The day after Google Gemini got released to the public, my daughter and I decided to have some fun with it. And we were playing around with different prompts to see what it can and would do. One of the prompts that we ended up putting in was create song lyrics in the style of the Baha Men, which, as everyone will know, had the banger hit Who Let the Dogs Out, depicting the sociocultural climate in 1930s Germany.
Okay.
And it spit out a banger of a song called Who Let the Nazis In that was very well written about the tension, the sociopolitical tension in Germany, and as the Nazis came into power.
Wow.
It was not at all offensive. It was a warning, actually, to don't let the Nazis in. But they spit it out. Within an hour, we tried to get it to replicate it, and what we got back was, I'm sorry, that does not meet our content code. So the stuff's being curated all the time. That's another thing that we have to understand is the danger of AI, is that the AI is not going to put the brakes on it. The brakes that are being put on it right now are human.
Right. Which to my point from earlier, once we take the brakes off, that's when I think we'll achieve some sort of sentience.
Yeah. And so there's all sorts of questions about, as AI is being used on the battlefield, at what point is AI given the determination to make the kill call?
I think it was iRobot that was the opening scene, and they went against the probability of the robot. And so then the robot took over the planet because they're like, you guys can't be trusted. You guys didn't make the right call.
Well, Isaac Asimov was a great writer and theorist, and he came up with the laws of robotics. And the first law of robotics, according to Isaac Asimov, was that no robot will do anything to harm a human being. And the whole point in iRobot was that the massive robot sentience decided that the thing to do to keep humans from being harmed was to eliminate all humans.
Yeah, or to enslave them, I think was more.
Something like that, yeah. We've gotten far afield here, my friend.
We should cover WALL-E. I think WALL-E's a fascinating AI and sort of end of the world. We just end up as these fatties on a spaceship.
That's funny because I was going to, we should cover some Star Trek Next Generation episodes about the Borg.
No, absolutely. Yeah, Borg is another one. Borg, and again, it's, Borg is half zombie, half machine. So it really gives you that sense of like impending doom. It's coming. You can't possibly stop it. The Borg was by far the scariest villain in the Star Trek universe. I thought. And the Klingons did not at all compare to the lack of emotion. The Klingons were the super angry, basically Russians.
They were so,
is what they were portrayed as, sociopolitically at the time. But the Borg were way scarier because they didn't care. They just didn't care about your feelings. Okay. So yeah, I think that's a pretty good AI discussion. I don't think we made anybody feel any better today.
Like and subscribe.
Please like and subscribe for more. But if this, filled you with trepidation, Josh has some more job security. Go see a therapist. Go see a psychiatrist.
No, look, I'm gonna leave people with this thought about AI from a mental health standpoint. AI is a technology. All technology has the possibility for good. It has the possibility for bad. It depends on how we apply it. I think that AI has a tremendous potential to help folks in the mental health space. We have to do it right. We have to do it thoughtfully. Don't believe everything you hear, and don't try everything just because it's new.
Except for make banger songs in the style of Baha Men.
Ooh, duh.
That you should try. That you should absolutely try every time a new AI comes out. Okay, thanks as always for watching or listening to Cinemental and our continuing coverage of the Terminator, but more a discussion of AI. If you like this episode, this one, you're weird. This one should have just filled you with trepidation. But if you like this episode somehow, please subscribe anywhere you get your podcasts. You can also watch clips of Cinemental on YouTube, where we'd love to hear what you'd like us to cover next. We're also on YouTube. We air the whole podcast on YouTube. You can watch my companion series, The One Thing, where I take a deeper dive into screenwriting, all available on the Large and in Charge channel on YouTube. Follow Dr. Josh Jones, America's Psychiatrist, on Blue Sky. This has been a Large and in Charge production. For Josh Jones, I am Jeff Jones, and we will see you next week.
I want you to hit me as hard as you can.